Welcome to the September issue of Show and Tell presented by our team here at Fashion Snoops. So glad to be back with you today. I'm joined by some of our global team. As you know, we do these meetings monthly, and it's a chance for us to share with you guys out there things that are currently inspiring us. And of course, as always, we strive to make some cultural connections along the way. We'll do it again the same time next month for October. For now, I'm going to go ahead and share screen and we'll get started on our links for today. I believe first up, we have Mallory from our beauty team. Hi, Mallory.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mallory. I'm a beauty and wellness strategist here at Fashion Snoops. And for my links today, I'm going to share some of my favorite highlights from the recent Cosmoprof North America beauty trade show that took place in Las Vegas. The whole beauty and wellness team was there, and we saw so much innovation across the show floor. It was really great to be back. Working the trade show circuit and talking to all these amazing exhibitors and seeing what the new beauty and wellness trends were. So if you want to go to the first slide, Michael. So this first category that I've called out were beauty tech advancements. Beauty devices have been booming ever since the pandemic started. We know that consumers are really gravitating towards beauty tools and these really innovative designs. And these are just three from many amazing examples of the show that I wanted to call out. The first example is this cordless rechargeable hair dryer by Air. And what we particularly loved about this, other than how high powered and long lasting it is on a single charge, was this really beautiful, sleek aesthetic. I love the emerald green model with the rose gold metallic accents, really kind of taking it from that cold, sterile device feel into this really amazing kind of luxe aesthetic. The second one is this beautiful multi-treatment beauty device by La Lure. And this one, we've seen LED devices, we've seen microcurrent technology. We've seen a lot of these sort of beauty devices over the past few years, but this one combines so many cool technologies into one. And you can set it to different treatment levels to really address whatever targeted skin concerns you have, whether it's lifting, revitalizing, acne care, hydrating. And it's really cool to see so many different innovative technologies within just one really small handheld product. And this last one on this page, this little massage and cleansing fish by Derma, which I thought was so clever and fun, really speaks to that consumer need for just like kind of nostalgic, fun shapes. It's in the shape of a fish. So on the top of the fish is a cleansing brush that has microcurrent technology to really thoroughly clean the skin. And then the tail of the fish is a vibrating massage tool that you can use kind of like a gua sha to massage your face and to depuff. So we thought that was fun. You want to go to the next slide? So these are some great sustainability updates we saw. We love these sheet masks from Sue a K-beauty brand. And so the extracts within the sheet mask, for example, like the banana sheet mask has banana extract in it, but the sheet mask itself is also made from repurposed banana fibers. So really creating this symbiotic, sustainable approach where you're using all parts of the ingredient, it's upcycled. And so we thought that was really cool and very clever. We saw the waterless trend also continue with these Solido geometric waterless shampoo bars. Shampoo bars are definitely having a moment, and we continue to see just not only the formulations, but also the shapes, like this really cool geometric design becoming more and more elevated. And then last, we love this, what they called eco-rational packaging by Noya. They use bamboo-based sustainable packaging for their lipsticks. It's really cool. It's very organic and recyclable, biodegradable. So we love seeing a color cosmetics brand create packaging that's beautiful. We love the cherry blossom design, as well as great for the environment. So if you want to go to the next slide. Protection, of course, being, post-COVID is still very much on everyone's mind. And so we definitely saw many protective examples across the show floor. This really cool brand, Shielded Skincare, they have these face protecting skincare products that just help, fortify your skin, neutralize certain toxins and pathogens, and also just help your skin better protect itself. The second example I think is genius because as a personal fan of cushion compacts, everyone knows how like dirty beauty tools can get, brushes, sponges, and definitely the little sponge applicators within these cushion pads. So we love this example from Shanley. It comes with a plug-in UV light that kills bacteria on the actual cushion itself. And then lastly, we love this example from Fortify Plus. It's this facial that's protective. It's infused with zeolite, really amazing antibacterial, antimicrobial mineral. It's super soothing, super refreshing. You can spray it over your makeup. You can keep it on you as you travel at an airport or whatnot. And it's just such a quick and seamless way to feel more protected as you're going out there and exploring this COVID reality. And then if you want to go to the last slide, the last call I'm going to do for today are, we loved all these global beauty traditions. We're seeing a real celebration of global beauty, diverse cultures and rituals across the globe. And there were so many at the show, but these were just a few of our favorites. We love June. They have these Persian hair care secrets that use these really gorgeous ingredients like saffron, rose, pistachio oil, and these beautiful hair care products inspired by their heritage. We also loved this Rosary by Maya rosehip face oil. There's a really beautiful story behind this brand. They have a great ethical partnership with these women in Africa where they source the rosehip from. So they're doing a great job for the community while also really grounding themselves in the traditions, the beauty traditions of how rosehip has been traditionally used. And it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous product. And lastly, we loved the Ayurveda experience. All their packaging is so beautiful. It's done by local artists in India. And what we loved is that their whole brand ethos is that they use all the authentic Ayurvedic recipes the way that they were written thousands and thousands of years ago. The only time they change them is if there's an ingredient like for today that isn't available, or we know now to not be safe, or maybe there's something that just works better. But other than that, they stick to the exact formulations as they were written in the sacred Ayurvedic text. So we thought that was really great, really authentic, lends in, definitely an element of, being culturally rooted and being authentic to Ayurvedic traditions. So this is the tip of the iceberg from Cosmoprof North America. There was so much more goodness there, and subscribers look forward to this full report posting on the site next week.
Awesome. Thank you, Mallory. That was a great recap. Beautiful hair dryer. Okay, next up, we have Erza from our culture team.
Hi, everyone. So my first link is about this Mexico City brand Mucho Carne that I just discovered. I find very, very unique. They make outdoor gear for inward explorers of psychedelics. So the brand's About Me page here reads, the human being is a curious animal, a nomad of land and thoughts capable of amplifying its consciousness and connecting with nature. Mucha Carne was born for the traveler of worlds, a brand designed to go with you on your trip. So they make all-weather jackets, comfortable clothing, and really optimized clothing for your journey. And if you go into their clothing, the shop tag there, so they named each of their items after a famous psychedelic researcher, and then the label tags are made of seed paper so you can plant them. And then additionally, at the top of the page, they even have the John Hopkins Center of Psychedelics 7-hour playlist. It's where it says CARNE. So that's where the playlist would be. And that playlist is played for study participants to unlock their consciousness. So every detail of this brand is very thoughtful and purposeful. So I really liked it. So my next example is about Team Lab, which is a Japanese collective that creates artwork using digital technology. And most of us are familiar with, these otherworldly installations that they create. But what caught my attention is their new exhibition called Planets. And they want you to play with boundaries as you walk barefoot through water and in flowers. So this really reminded me of our most recent sentiment, Grow, and where we discussed appreciating the beauty and healing properties of flowers and immersing ourselves with the rejuvenating energy of water.
Where is this, Ersa?
This one's in Tokyo.
Okay. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And also from the culture team, Nico.
Hey everyone, Nico here from the culture team. Today, I want to share with you guys a few of the books that I've read recently that have really opened up my thinking about different topics. Like over the past year, I made, a conscious decision to read more. And I used this platform called Goodreads to kind of gamify that experience and make a challenge for myself. So I set a challenge of 24 this year, and I'm about at 15. I'm on track, so I would definitely recommend. It's not sponsored, but the first book that I want to show you guys is called The Entangled Life by Merlin Sheldrake. And this kind of relates to the brand that Erza just showed you, which was Mucha Carne, because this is about fungi. And Merlin Sheldrake is actually a mycologist, which is a person obviously who studies fungi. And the book is really about how entwined fungus is within our ecosystems, our cultures, and our history as human beings. And fungi are definitely having their moment right now. I mean, with this book having been on bestseller lists consistently for the past year, also with the release of Fantastic Fungi onto Netflix finally, about a year and a half after its release, and also the surge in foraging that we're seeing culturally, which mushrooms are a huge part of, and also new research about psilocybin and its benefits for mental health. I wanted to give you guys also like a few fun facts that I learned from the book to hopefully convince you to maybe check it out. Fungi were some of the first organisms that made it on land before anything else. And they're so resilient, they've survived 5 massive extinction events. And today, 90% of plants rely on fungi for nutrients and also minerals. And as humans, we've used them before we were even classified as Homo sapiens. And today we use them obviously for different drugs and antibiotics. So many vaccines actually come from or based from chemicals that come from fungi. Obviously, we use them for cooking, and they have so many medicinal holistic benefits, like shiitake mushrooms are great for immunity. And we're also seeing companies start to invest in fungi and mycelium as a sustainable material, which we talked about in our Fungi Renaissance report in culture. Overall, I just love how Sheldrake invites us to question so much of what we know and reframes our perspectives about what intelligence is, because fungi mirror a lot of signs of intelligence, such as decision making, problem solving, and also information sharing.
That's great. You should definitely share this with Justin on our sales team, who's our resident forager.
Oh, I have to get some tips from him.
Yeah, he would love that.
So the next book I want to show you is The Social Photo by Nathan Jurgensen, who is a social media theorist. And Nathan basically created this collection of theoretical reflections on how social media has remade our world and how cameras have really infiltrated every aspect of our life. And we've all essentially become like a social photographer, and photographs have taken on a new meaning, starting from being just a way to capture moments in life. It's really become a way to communicate ideas and also feelings. So within this, he's giving us new ideas about how the transformations in technology have birthed these concepts like the selfie and the faux vintage photo, which I find really interesting. Like, why do we feel the need? We want to filter our photos to look older. Is it because we want to bring back like permanence to photography? He also talks about the infamous Instagram food photo, which everybody now makes a joke that like Instagram eats first, So overall, this book is a great deep dive into how photography is evolving in the age of social media and the whys behind some of our new cultural habits. So I'm going to show you guys my last book. I did want to call out the first 2 books I did get when I was in New York City at McNally Jackson, which I always hit up when I'm visiting. I love going there. This one, A Visual Culture by Alexis Boylan, I bought at Bridge Street Books in Washington, D.C., which I feel like is one of the best bookstores in Washington, D.C. if you're ever around. It's in Georgetown. But this comes from the MIT Press Essential Knowledge series. And it's basically a guide for navigating the complexities of visual culture And it also outlines strategies for thinking about what it means to look and see. So Alexis begins with the what of visual culture, what it is, and what questions and ideas animate our approach to the visual. And then she looks at whose bodies are seen and who has access to visual culture. She also looks at where and the when of visual culture. And Boylan draws on like historical and contemporary examples. Some of my favorite were, she references Beyonce and Jay-Z in the Louvre for their music video and how that is a commentary on visual culture. Also, Kim Kardashian's selfie book as kind of a reclamation of her image from the public. And also to the first images of the black hole and different examples in art history that kind of illustrate ideas about visual culture. So yeah, I love the way this book really challenged me to look at the world more critically and also to think about the implications of visual culture. Because I think, you know, anyone in the creative field, it's super crucial to be able to look at the world with a critical eye.
Love it. Wow, Nico, we are all hoping that you just start up a book club each month, please.
We definitely should.
All right, I love it. Thank you so much. Those are awesome. All right, next we have Jay. Hi, Jay.
Hi, Nico. I am totally down for that book club. I'm Jay. I'm the VP of Home, and I want to talk about what we've been doing for the last 2 days in the home world. We've been at the Future of Home conference, which is really quite interesting. Everybody from Martha Stewart to Jonathan Adler to Christian Siriano from big names were there, but we also really got a look into like some really key topics of what is happening within the home world. I mean, Martha Stewart was a really interesting, well, first, she looks fabulous in person. I mean, whatever she's doing, I'm going to be doing at 80, 100%. Like she looks immaculate. But besides that, she was speaking with the CEO of Baccarat, and they were talking about how she's expanding her brand, not to create new product, but to actually add on to the Baccarat kind of legacy. So her favorite pieces were from the Nancy collection. She had every single one, which was like 144 SKUs of Nancy, but she was very upset that she couldn't put her Martharitas, as she called it, into the Nancy glasses. So she approached Baccarat as a way to kind of create her own line, but to add to that Nancy one. And I thought that was really genius to see really kind of her inventive approach to licensing her name, especially within our home world that's so huge. Some other great people that were speaking was Deisha Dyer. She's from Hooked in Fashion. She was the person that actually designed the White House with Michelle Obama. And she really gave us some perspectives into, you know, how they redesigned kind of what is a museum that people live in, which is really interesting. And she was saying that it was really important for Miss Obama to have this perspective of like, she wants people to feel at home. And the White House had never really had that before, which I thought was really interesting. So they changed out a ton of the carpets and textiles, upholsteries, that type of thing to make it a lot more cozy and inviting. So no matter who came in, whether it was a visitor or someone actually there to do business, they could actually get a feel like they were walking into a home. So I thought that was really fascinating. There was also some really great diversity and design conversations, but the biggest topic, even if you want to go to the next link, Michael, was talking about the metaverse. And I think this one's really a hot topic for home right now, from everything from NFTs. You guys probably know that there's been a ton of sales in home NFTs over the last couple months, all the way down to new solutions for living apart, especially from the work at home. So this just kind of gives you a look. This link right here kind of gives you a link of all the speakers that were happening. But Christie's had their VP of NFTs there called Noah Davis. And he was really interesting because he was talking to a world that kind of really doesn't necessarily jump on the digital Y2K train that fast. They're a lot slower movers than fashion. So it was really interesting for him to kind of bring to perspective, like, the new applications that we could bring NFTs to, such as frames and TVs, and actually implementing them in the home in a new way. That was great. And then my next link is actually looking at a studio called Beneve Studios, and it's from Michael Beneve, and he was by far the one that impacted me the most. But what he did was showed us how, if we all work remotely, how we could actually still feel like we're in an office. So he creates metaverse spaces, which is really interesting. So we could all be sitting here at a Zoom in an office that he creates. We check in at 9:30. We can see everybody that's there in the office on Zoom. And then if we're having meetings, like Kristen, who's on my team, I could go into a meeting room and that type of thing all day long. So it's like you can still feel like you're together by being apart still in your own home. And I think that was really interesting as we start to see more and more spaces kind of bring this on, especially as people can go on like digital vacations or even do digital dinners together instead of renting like a restaurant per se, or like spending money on a menu. You would spend money on building kind of like this virtual showroom everybody can check into. They can eat whatever they want for dinner, and then you can still have the conversation. You're just doing it from your own home. So those are some great conversations that we had this week.
Really interesting. Did you find that there was a lot more there were a lot more conversations on these kind of post-COVID topics that we're all kind of thinking about? What is community now? What is home, etc.?
Exactly. Especially as we start to look at like a lot more of these kind of like meta conversations with people still wanting to stay home, still stay distance. But even in the future, like it will be so easy for us, especially from a Fashion Snoops perspective, we're all kind of all over the world. We can still kind of see each other in real time all together and have kind of more personalized experience to it. And I think from the home perspective, it fits really well with a lot of our kind of the way our industry works. Instead of being an interior designer for physical spaces, you could be an interior designer for a meta space.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah, which is really kind of cool.
Wow. Yeah, thank you for that. That's good food for thought. I know that as a team, we loved being together in a space, even though so many of us were global. And I mean, I know a lot of us kind of struggle with missing out on that component. You all Zoom and whatever.
Exactly. Imagine if we paid for like a virtual office space.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Thank you, Jay. I'm actually going to go next, and I'm going to go to my second link because it's actually really beautiful kind of precursor from what you were discussing. But loving these cultural terms about how we're not really talking about FOMO anymore, but FOGO and FONO. FOGO is, of course, really talking about the fear of going out. And FONO is the fear of normal. So it's very interesting kind of to build that onto what Jay was just speaking of as far as, wanting to be around others. But what I found really interesting about this is that, FOGO is really this kind of perception that something scary is out there, even after experts tell us that the danger is no longer present. I know a lot of people really struggle with that, getting back out there into the real world. And these are not obviously psychological terms. You can't find them in the DSM-5. I really love that they kind of consider these crowdsourced diagnoses, but they're still really relevant to what we're all kind of going through right now. And how is being scared of normal suddenly the new normal that we're going through? And right before show and tell, I reached out to Hania on our team because I remembered that a couple of years ago, in our cultural sentiments, we spoke of the antithesis of FOMO being JOMO, which is the joy of missing out, being really proud of not participating in mainstream culture and social media and whatnot. So this was a really interesting other layer for me because it kind of is missing a little bit of that joy because there's fear that's very present in the conversation. So I thought that was interesting. And, if you read through this article, which, we'll post, of course, later with this, there's a lot of experts out there in the mental wellness field that say, trying to explain the ins and outs of your situation can oftentimes feel really complicated and people feel really shameful. But, trying to embrace that we're all on this COVID journey and we're all dealing with trying to get over various fears is something that, makes it very much more healthy. I love this quote: back to normal is not as easy as it sounds when we were forced to quickly adapt to changes and get into a new routine. Much easier said than done. So I just wanted to share that link first. This was something that I just saw really cute. As a new dad myself, this really spoke to me. But there was a TED talk just a few weeks ago by a 7-year-old who is from Australia. She is the youngest ever TED talk lecturer. And it's only a 7-minute or 10-minute TED talk, so you can watch it really easily. But what I really loved about it, her name, by the way, is Molly Wright. She's super cute. But her TED talk, it's called How Every Child Can Thrive by 5. And she was commissioned by the Minderoo Foundation and UNICEF. The video I just checked this morning has been viewed more than 3 million times. But the talk was really meant to motivate parents, new and existing parents, caregivers, how to meaningfully engage early and often with our children, even before they're born. And she coined this really interesting term called serve and return, which is interactions where you're meant to connect, talk, and play with your child. So not saying, she goes through this whole thing about how technology isn't necessarily the bad guy in your relationship with your child. You can still engage with technology when your child is playing, but just be looking out for those cues. So if your child serves, up wanting to interact with you, then of course return that serve. And she had basically 5 different component in her TED talk about how your child can thrive by 5. But even if you're not a parent, if you're just interested in psychology and human development, it's a really great little TED talk to just watch. Again, it's just 7 minutes, but she's pretty amazing for being such a young philosopher, if you will. My next link is all about Christo, currently wrapping the Arc de Triomphe in Paris. Christo, of course, passed away, but this was his last project that he really wanted to undertake, and he actually had this idea since the late 60s. So it's been 60 years in the making, actually. So it's really, really cool. But it is going on officially from the 18th, which is a few days away, until October 3rd. So they are currently still working on it. But they are wrapping the Arc de Triomphe in 25,000 meters of a recyclable polypropylene fabric that will drape the monument. What I thought was really interesting about it is that they were very, very adamant about not covering up certain things on the Arc de Triomphe to be respectful to its history. Anyone that's been there or is French knows that this is super important to them. They made sure not to, of course, drape over where the missing, the unknown soldier is and things like that. But it was really great. And he had been working on this project for many years. So this is kind of his last official project that he was doing. So I thought that was really great. If you were curious, it's about 17 million US dollars to do this project. But as always, none of the money comes from government entities. It's all funded by the sale of project studies, drawings, collages of various project scale models, etc. That's actually how his foundation raises money to do these projects. If you go all the way to the bottom of this link on Design Bloom, you can actually click on a link to see the project as we speak right now. So we are about 6:30 in the evening there in Paris. You can kind of see how they're finishing it up, but there's some really beautiful kind of little shimmers of blue when the sun is out that you see from the silver fabric. So really beautiful. And then my final link today, it's just a really fun little collab. Mr. Slowboy is one of the, illustrators that everyone in the menswear industry really loves. He has a very kind of Ivy League centric point of view, but he teamed up with Sebago, who of course, legendary iconic footwear brand here in the US, to do the first ever menswear pop-up book, which will be for sale. So these are just some pictures of it, but it's all about various parts of menswear history. And so he put illustrations that kind of pop up the various pages as you go. So they kind of cover outdoors and Ivy League and workwear. So I thought that was really cool, and I hopefully can add that to my collection. But pop-up books, no matter what our age, we always love them. So Next up is Melissa from LA. Hi, Melissa.
Hey, Michael. Hi, everyone. I'm Melissa Moylan, VP of Women's at FS. And the first share that I have for you, it's TikTok from Rag Report. I don't know if you've heard of this one before. I'd be curious to know if some of our Gen Z members on our team saw this. Hold on, I'll just speak to it briefly, but I do want to watch that if we could.
Yeah.
Basically, this TikTok account has kind of been called the Vogue for Gen Z. And I thought that that was really interesting in terms of followers. They have 1.3 million followers. And if you compare it to Vogue, for example, on Instagram, they have only 219,000. So I thought that that was really fascinating. And I thought that it was interesting, you know, just the context of TikTok and how content is produced, that is so much more relevant to Gen Z than, you know, the traditional market for fashion magazines. So I thought that it was also interesting. They only have a team of 4 people, and their plans in the future, they want to stay on TikTok because they were on TikTok first. That's their platform. They've also introduced a limited run of t-shirts with a couple of different people. So I thought that that was interesting that they're already kind of getting into that. But they have all kinds of videos to watch. One I really liked because they're kind of comparing Gen Z versus millennials and why Gen Z doesn't like the millennial minimal aesthetic. So we can watch that one.
Okay.
Our own innovative voices, sometimes in the tacky glitz of early 2000s or rare aesthetics. And when millennials did have their moments, their aesthetics are mostly unseasoned. She's the least exciting to look at. As a reaction to global warming and 2008's economic crash, millennials seem beat down and burnt out. They just want simple monochrome sets. And this unexciting clash with Gen Z's loud artistic renaissance is why we hate the millennial minimalist aesthetic. For Gen Z, we're focused on finding, evolving, and screaming out our own innovative voices, sometimes in the tacky glitz of early 2000s or rare aesthetics.
Stop it, Michael. Yeah, so I just kind of liked that. Also how they position like what they call fashion school, and they're actually educating their viewers. I thought that it was really fascinating. Like they pack so much info in 30 seconds. And I feel like they're really informative. They tell it like in a way that's very approachable. It's not like elitist or anything. And I think that's also what adds to their appeal for Gen Z. So definitely one to watch. Another one that I have is Juliette Johnstone. She on an Instagram account to potentially follow. I liked her because she's an LA based artist, and you may have seen her. She does all of these really custom hand painted garments. And a couple of celebrities, Kendall, Bella, have been spotted in her jeans. So what she does, part of it is like upcycling. So she'll take vintage Carhartt or Dickies and customize them and then add, you know, her art to them. She does these as a one-off. She actually numbers each pair of pants as a collector's item. I have no idea how much they cost, but I think they're probably really expensive. She also does things like hoodies and hats and things, and those are like in the vicinity of $200 or something. But I liked it for the pant slash denim perspective, just because we've also been talking about party pants and how important those are in women's wear now. I liked like the idea of customization, and there's definitely kind of like a free-spirited hippie thing going on here. Some of them look a little bit psychedelic, which is also something that we've seen very recently in New York Fashion Week. So that's one to follow.
Great. Thank you, Melissa. Next is Nia. Hi, Nia.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nia, the materials director at FS. So for my first link today, I wanted to share an article I came across that highlights this German-based startup called QOA, and they're developing a cocoa-free chocolate that's going to be using precision fermentation of other ingredients. And their plan is to develop this over the next few years so it can, you know, one day be possibly as viable as Beyond Meat is to the meat industry, which I thought was super interesting. They're pushing their development as a more ethical option, you know, both environmentally and socially, which was something that's super interesting. I didn't know that the cocoa industry is notorious for child labor. And then on top of that, causes actually a lot of environmental harm. They cite, for example, in the Ivory Coast, a third of the world's cocoa, where a third of the world's cocoa is grown, in the last 50 years, they've lost approximately like 80% of their forests due to the production of cocoa. And then people have also cited from other articles that I've read that the chocolate industry actually isn't far behind the meat and dairy industry in terms of its environmental footprint, which I thought was very interesting. And they're really seeing this as an option that can be an alternative that maybe we could one day, you know, have adopted by some of our favorite chocolate brands. In general, just thought it was really interesting. I think they're going to be working on this over the next couple of years, but just to see something like this, I think is super interesting.
Yeah, who knew? I didn't.
Yeah.
Now we're all going to feel guilty for having chocolate.
I know, for having chocolate, I didn't even think, right? And for my next one, you guys might have come across this as well, from one of our favorites, Telfar. So a few days ago during New York Fashion Week, instead of opting for a fashion show, they instead held a press conference where they announced a new venture and kind of innovative retail concept that will literally be a TV channel called Telfar TV. So their plan is to broadcast it 24/7. And, you know, it's aimed to unveil new collections, collaborations, also interact with their customers. They plan to have the possibility where their customers can submit user videos. And then also, interestingly, they'll also be a hub for product drops. So their plan is to randomly have these QR codes pop up on the screen that users can scan with their phone and then immediately make a purchase. Their brand or their bags are notorious for selling out super quick. So I thought this in general was just a really, really interesting concept to see kind of this contemporary brand kind of make this return to TV and offer things and sell in this way and interact in this way. Yeah, kind of like a new QVC. Really, really interesting, I thought.
That's so interesting. And we always applaud any brand that tries to find new and innovative ways to showcase their collection beyond the typical presentation during Fashion Week.
Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you, Nia. And last but not least, we're going to end today's show and tell with Patricia.
Hi guys, I'm Patricia, Director of Women's, and this is a new capsule collection by Pangaya, which is a brand that we all love here at Fashion Snoops, and it's called Air Ink. Basically, they have partnered up with Gravity Labs, which is a startup from MIT, and they developed a black ink that is made from pollution. So they're using new technology that turns air pollution particles into water-based ink, and they're using that ink in the logos from this collection. There's a little video at the bottom of this page if we want to. Yeah, you can play.
Okay.
And I think it's just really cool because, you know, the brand ethos is focused on sustainability. So just really interesting to see how they're investing in these new technologies to, you know, move the industry forward towards a more sustainable solution.
That's cool. Patricia, how did this come on your radar? I'm just curious.
I saw an article from a different website, and that's how I came across this new collection.
Anyone using it yet? Do we know?
I think, well, just Pangaya for now, because they have to partner up with these with this new startup.
Wow, really cool. It's funny that we've shared a lot of links over the last year or two about like super dark pigments, kind of man-made, you know, new colors and things. And so that's a whole other level.
Yeah, it's basically combining, you know, that idea with the super dark ink with something that is more sustainable.
Sustainable, right.
So this is a new designer. You guys know that I love sharing new designers on my radar. So She is Sohee Park. She's from South Korea. She's 25 years old and went to Central St. Martin's. As you can see from this book, she is very drawn to haute couture, which is quite unusual for a young designer. This collection is inspired by the Korean female divers, you know, those ladies who dive really deep to collect shellfish and seaweed by hand. And, you know, like any other new designer, she is very interested in sustainability. So this entire collection is made out of recycled crystals. She's also using fabric that is made from abaca plant, which is a species of the banana tree, and it has that shimmery effect. And all the remaining fabrics are dead stock fabrics. So amazing haute couture collection from a very young emerging designer.
The colors are stunning, really pretty. Great, thank you guys. Thanks team for joining us today. If you're not following us on Instagram so you can see things like this and more throughout the month, make sure that you are at Fashion Snoops on all social media platforms. Otherwise, we will see you again next month for the next October show and tell. Thanks for joining us. Bye.